Okay. Father's Day. You know, men, the male species is extremely complicated. Do you guys know that? You know, we think about them as being straightforward and straight up, but they're really not. Women have so much broader the capacity to communicate. We just have a very broad realm that we move through. And guys tend to have this action-oriented thing that they got going on. Do you know what I'm saying? They're wired to action. So sometimes the underlying causal energy is not always visible when a man acts, which is why the female is always apt to say, we need to talk. What did you mean when you did that? What was your intention when you said that? Because I couldn't see it, you see? And then the fellows have to find a way to deliver that information in a way that the female can understand, because they are so wired to action. Do you guys understand that? Ladies understand it, don't you, ladies? you guys are going, what? What's up with this? Okay. The male qualities, we all have within us the male and the female. The male is the ability to act, to create, to move. The female is the intuitive. That's the feeling nature. We intuit, we have guidance, we counsel. But our physical vehicle, how we are born, typically dictates how we tend to express. Females in the physical body will tend to express more. The female, the intuitive, the feeling nature. Men will tend to express more in the male energy. And I can tell you, it is not by conditioning. They've done many, many, many experiments. It's not by conditioning. You can keep the idea of challenge and robust conflict out of a little boy, and he will pick up a stick and play with somebody. He will wrestle them to the ground. It's part of them. That action thing, it's how they express. One of my favorite pictures is of David flying on his bike with his white hair. It was not very long, but it's flying behind him in a straight line. It's like, that's my kid. You know? Yeah, I'm on the run. That's the male. That's the male. And we all have it within us. But those in the male body tend to communicate through that. So, in Mother's Day, we talked about moms sustain life. We nurture. Everything about a female is about the sustenance of life. Everything in a male is about creating in matter. They love to create. They love to do things. They love to act in matter. They love to create in matter. They love to teach about matter. Think about the relationship you guys have with your dads. If it was for any length of time, or any male that might have stepped forward as your father, because we all have males that will play the role if ours is interrupted in any way. Isn't it typical of the male energy to try to prepare you for what you're going to face in the world? The mom will say, oh, how do you feel, baby? The dad says, now listen, you need to be prepared. You need to learn this, and you need to learn that, and that's not how it's done out there. Do you understand what I'm saying? And they feel like they really want to prepare you so that you can navigate this world of matter very carefully. My dad and I didn't agree on a lot of things, but by golly, he did his job in trying to prepare me for the world that he lived in. Was not going to be the world I lived in. But boy, hard work, nose to the grindstone, you got to pay attention. I heard it all. And in my mind as a little girl, I'm going, eh. But in his mind as a father, he's going, yes, I'm doing my job. You know, I'm preparing you. Remember, I come from the dark ages. You guys had different relationships with the younger men of the world. They've changed. But that's how that energy was when I was coming along. All of our dads had been to war. All of our dads had seen the wars, world wars, and it was a different mindset. But the idea of preparation is the same. The father energy wants to prepare the offspring, prepare the created so they can navigate through the world. All right, so they'll teach you about matter. That's our dad thing. The other thing that they do is the dad will actually help you create your dream, believe it or not. Your mommy says to you, oh, baby, what a great dream. You can do it. And your dad says to you, hey, how are you going to do it? How are you going to do that, friend? And the mom says, oh, leave them alone, they'll figure it out. And the dad goes, no. What's your first step? What's your plan? You got to have a plan. Me too, plan. Y'all resonating? All right. Fathers help us think, they help us plan, but it's always about taking action in the matter. And then when the child launches, it's a funny thing what the dads do. The father is not all up in your face, asking how you feel, asking if it's working. That's your mom. You know? Your father literally takes a step back. And he says, okay, do what you need to do. He doesn't get in there, he doesn't try to correct your action, doesn't try to correct your course. He just takes a step back. He says, okay, do it. But for most dads in the male energy, when they do that, they're always there to get your back. In most cases, if they're the innate urge is, I've done all I can, let them fly, but I am here. I'll pick up the pieces with them. I'll be there to guide them if they need me. If they call or turn to me, I'll be here for them. Moms don't do that. Moms go, oh, I'm right there with you. I am walking with you. I am wanting to hear everything you're going through. The dads let you fly. Do you see the difference? Because the father prepares you for the action, lets you try the action. One of the most beautiful parables, because we've been working on parables this month, that Jesus shared, was a parable of the prodigal son. It's really famous. Most of you have heard it. I'll paraphrase it quickly for you. There was a man who had wealth, and he had 2 sons. And the second son came to him and said, give me of my inheritance. And the father said, okay. Well, that in and of itself, in that day and time, was an anomaly. Because in that day and time, when Jesus was walking around, the elder son inherited virtually everything. The elder son was the one that was groomed to take over the business, the family business, the farms, the shepherds, whatever they were raising. So now we have a father stepping up and supporting the second son. And the father says, sure, you can have your inheritance. So he gives him all that he would come into. And the young man takes off, and we know that he lives very frivolously, very decadently, very indulgently, not unlike people we know. And most of us have worn those shoes at one time or another. But the child is going out into the world and doing what he thinks he needs to do. He's doing what he feels he needs to do. And don't you think the mom said, be careful, baby, now follow your heart, do what you need to do. Stay in touch, write me some letters, let me know how you're doing. And the dad said, go on and be free. Well, we know the story. Does everybody know the story? The son is out there. He ends up with no money. He's feeding pigs for a living, and he has no food. So he's eating what he's feeding the pigs. And he wakes up to himself, and he says, you know what? My dad has a big place, and my dad's servants eat better than this. I shall go home, and I shall work for my father. Now he's realized the value of matter. He went through his matter. Now he's got to earn his matter back. So he goes back to his dad, and of course his mother knows he's coming. Her psychic intuition kicks in, and she and the father go to meet him, and the dad just loves him. And the son says, please, please, no, no, I'll be a servant. And the dad goes, oh, shut up, you're my kid, come on. And he throws him a big party. He celebrates the fact that his son has now come home. And he doesn't say, I told you so. And he doesn't say, you wasted our wealth. He says, you were my son. You went and you flew. Didn't work out. Come back. They give you the great ring, give you the great robe, give you some good shoes. And they celebrated him home. Because he had his back. And the one thing the father did not do, the entire time the son was out, and this was a rich man, he didn't send people to spy on him. He didn't keep a tab on him or try to call him back. He didn't send servants out to say, come on home. Who would have done that? Then Mama. But the father didn't. He gave him full reign to do exactly what he felt he needed to do. And he celebrated him home because the realization of the connection was awakened within. The child realized who he was and realized who the father was. And so now they could build a new life together. We all know that the elderly son wasn't happy about it. He said, excuse me, you've never given me a party. And the father said, you've been with me forever. Everything I have is yours. Everything I have is yours. The father did not differentiate between the boys. He gave the elder what he wanted. He gave the younger what he wanted. He loved them and let them live the dream they wanted to live. Isn't that a good dad story? Mm-hmm. I love that. It's all action-oriented, though, isn't it? It's all action-oriented. One of my favorite examples that I give about dads is dads love to fix things. You know, and if there's something up with their kids, they love to fix it. They love to get in there. If you need it, they got your back. If you have a need of something, they're going to stand up for you. And one of the most profound examples that I've ever seen is when there's somebody in a hospital and hurting, and the mom is like with the child, and the dad's pacing because there's nothing he can do. He can't fix it. You see, the action man can't do it. Well, recently, we have a couple in our congregation, Alan and Waleska, and I share the story with you with Alan's permission. So recently, Waleska was pregnant with the twins, and Spirit told me, God said, Cindy, I want you to initiate Alan first-degree Reiki before the birth. That's my gift to him. I said, oh, great, Alan. Hey, God said you're supposed to get first-degree Reiki before the babies are born. So you can just have Reiki in the hospital. Maybe Reiki Waleska when she's in labor or something. And I don't know, but this is from God, so it's up to you. And I went, sure, I'll do it. So he came in, and I initiated him. I taught him about Reiki, and it's all new to him. But he was enjoying it, and he followed, did everything, and great. So he left, and the day came, and they were in the hospital, and there's this need now of emergency C-section because things are going bad, sideways in a bad way. So Alan is in the middle of all of this. He's with Waleska, all her parts are out. He's got these two babies that are just being born. Both of them are in distress. And he saw the doctor with one of his sons. And she was working, and they had a team of people working on this baby. And so he's with Waleska, but he's got her in his vision. And the doctor stopped and did this with her head. And then she looked up, and she saw him looking at her. And he looked at her, and he did this with his head. You're not, do not, you are. She went back at it. And she started trying to do what she was doing before. And at that point, they're rushing both of the babies out of there, and then he got to leave. And he went to the nursery, and he got to put his hands on the first one. And he said, I just put my hands on it, and I started praying, and I just asked God for anything to go through me. And he's raking this child. And both of them had to have blood transfusions immediately. They were both in distress. And then as soon as he could get his hands on the other little one, he's praying and letting the energy flow to him, through the baby, to the baby. And then they pull him out and they say, we're losing Waleska. He's going down the hall to find Waleska because she's bleeding and they can't stop it. He texted Robbie and said, call Cindy and Patrick, I need the whole church on this. And so he goes into Waleska and he's raking Waleska. And it's such a confused state for him. But in that moment, that new dad, he'd never been dead before. That new dad rallied. And he was able to give and able to act in a way that he would not have been able to without God intervening. And obviously, you all have met the two babies. Waleska was fine. She came to very quickly. The babies, he went every day. They were there for a little over a week. He went every day and put his hands on. He said, I just put my hands on. I just prayed and put my hands on. I said, Alan, could you feel the Reiki? He goes, I felt the energy. I don't know what it was. But he was able to give to his sons a gift that his Father in heaven had given him. It wasn't me. I had nothing to do with it. And I don't recall ever being told to give a daddy Reiki before the birth. But do you know how he would have felt if he hadn't had an action step to do? Do you know what he would have done? But he could do something as a man. He could step up and do something. And that's what he needed. And what if he hadn't caught that woman's eye? What if he hadn't said, oh, no, you're back at it. Get back at it. He was a powerful force in bringing those babies into the health that they have today. Because he had something to do. He had something to give and something to share. God's love comes to us in such a beautiful way. We have the beautiful spirit of intuition and guidance, and that's what we call the mother aspect of God, that nurturing and intuition. And then when we feel that urge to step out, that action step, that's the Father aspect of God within us. And I guarantee you, I promise you without a doubt, if you ever step on intuition out into the world, everything is prepared for you. Everything is prepared for you. God has gone before you. Everything you're going to need is in place. God does not ask you to act as his child without having the dots over the I's and the T's crossed and everybody ready to support what is going to be asked of you to do as you follow your intuition. That's the Father. That's our Father. That Father God always has our back. That Father God always opens those doors. Do you know how many times I have sat in following my intuition and said, God, you didn't bring me here to stop now. I do not see what I'm supposed to do. I do not see my next step. I know there is one, and I know you got it covered. Because I'm trusting your action in my action. Your action in my action. Can you see the strength of the male? Can you see the strength of that male energy? That beautiful energy of God. Well, I wanted to share with you a simple father story. I hope that the beautiful story of Alan, I hope you heard his strength, but I hope that you don't have to experience that. Guys? I hope that we don't need to know that to that depth. I hope that we can know our action energy, especially you guys, in a more gentle way. But I've shared with you about my dad. My dad and I, we share different opinions about most of life. And I've said before, I knew my dad loved me because my mom told me he did. And, you know, that's basically true. However, recently, a couple of months ago, I was just meditating and talking to Spirit. And God said, you know, you need to remember some of the other things about your father. So they were showing me a few little things, and I just wanted to share one thing with you. When I was 24, I lived by myself. I had a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment. It was so gorgeous, by myself. And I had in a moment, remember, no cell phones, no computer, no laptops. This is dark ages. I got home one day, and I know I got home because I was in my work clothes. I don't know how I found the bed, but I got into my bed, and I was the sickest I've ever been in my life. I remember I had a little trash can, and before I laid down, I pulled it to the bed, because if I was getting sick, I was not going anywhere. And I laid in that bed, and I did not move. I was so sick. And I did use my little trash can a couple times. I just rolled over and let it vomited and just laid in bed. I couldn't move. And about the second day, I'm serious, my mom called. And she said, I don't know what she said, I don't remember. I just remember she called, and I said, I'm so sick, I can't talk. And I hung up. So I'm laying in bed, day 2, totally out of it. I hear my dad in the room. My dad had come over. Of course, you know, back in that day, your parents, you have a key to their house, they have a key to your house. It's just how it was. So he was in my room, and I looked up, and he had that trash can, and he was taking it to my bathroom, too, didn't clean it for me. And I thought, what are you doing here? And I don't remember anything he said, except right before he left. I don't know how long he was there. But when he was taking my vomit, and the thought was, I don't even know how to clean that. What's he going to do? I don't know how to clean that. But he was cleaning my vomit out of my trash can. And he came to me right before he left, and he said, Cindy, when you feel better, I brought you some ice cream sandwiches. They're in your freezer. And I thought, how sweet. And I think maybe the next day I got up and there was a box of ice cream sandwiches in my freezer. And I know that in his heart and in his mind, he brought those because ice cream sandwiches will fix anything. And they always make you feel better. And when Spirit was reminding me of this, they said it's absolutely true. Your father did not tell you he loved you very often at all. But he showed you. He showed you. Even when he disagreed with you, he's trying to protect you. Even when he's telling you should do this or this or this, he's trying to do his thing. He showed you. And so I sent my dad the biggest thank you for those beautiful ice cream sandwiches. And for him even coming over just to check on me. We all have little moments in the midst of the great story of our lives where the infinite love of our parents and our fathers have been demonstrated to us. Some of our stories are filled with rebellion and interesting commentaries. Some of them are lovely. We had lovely relationships with our parents and our fathers. But I know in order for a man to raise you, there has to be some sense of acceptance and love for you, whether he agrees with it or not. And I know that he was trying to do his job, teach you about the world, keep you practical with your dreams. What are you doing? What's your plan? And if you needed him, have your back. And that's the truth. Let's go with it. God, our Father, our Mother, we love you so. We love you so. And we thank you for this wonderful, wonderful world where we get to live as male and female. We get to live as parents and children. We get to have all the experiences of life. And as you open your heart in gratitude, just see a beautiful column of light come over you and feel yourself being lifted up into a higher space that's just filled with light. And let's ask Jesus Christ to come and stand by your side. Let's take his hand. And I want you to bring forth, let's call forth your earthly father, the one who gave birth to you, whether you knew him for long or not. Let's call him forward. And if you were raised by another man, let's call him forward as well. Let's look first at the earthly father. And I want you to open your heart and send him love. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for bringing me to the world. For I know it was your consciousness that let me be born. And now to whoever raised you, look at them. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for preparing me for the world that you knew. Thank you for doing all you could to keep me safe. And I thank you for all of the lessons, the hard ones and the easy ones. And now I give you my love. I send you my love, and I respect and honor the soul that you are. I know that you were about your own business, learning your own life journey, and I love you and respect that, and I send you my light. Whether we agreed on everything, whether you left, whether you stayed, I respect your choice. Let your love enfold them. And hold the hand of Jesus Christ, and let's just send our love. God, we ask that your love lift these men up into your heart. We release them to you. They did the best. They blessed us. We release them to you, and we ask that they feel peace. Peace. On this Father's Day, let them feel peace. And we thank you. Let them go. Lift them up. I want you to feel yourself standing with Jesus Christ. And whether you are male or female, I want you to feel the Father energy that moves through you. And in this moment we can ask, God, I ask that your light move through all my actions. I ask that when I'm called upon to act as Father, that I act in your love. That I act for the highest good of all concerned. That when I'm called upon to be in the world, taking steps, creating, that I be one with you. And now feel the beautiful love of the intuitive nature of God. And God, we fill ourselves with your presence, that beautiful intuition. Let us always stay connected so we hear and see and know the divine light, so that when it flows straight and sure. Let your focus go to your heart. I go forth balanced in this world. Send your love to God now. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for all there is. And let there be peace. Breathe. And very gently let your awareness come back to your body, to where you sit. You can gently open your eyes. Do you feel balanced? Well, we did a lot of daddy blessings this day. We gave them to God, didn't we? Yeah. So now it's ours to walk and be the best loving energy in the world we can be. To our children, to our creations, and to our actions. Say Yega.